Am I being all sort of very humble in, these are not my thoughts, they're God's? Yes and no. It's incredibly elevating, though, if you start to think you're getting God's thoughts. I mean, that's pretty heady, isn't it? You could end up as some frightening cult leader. Well, it's only frightening if he goes wrong, of course, but that's what we've seen in the world. But perhaps we've seen one or two that go right. In a sense, the story of Jesus is that, isn't it? From a Pharisaic point of view, this is a cult, isn't it? From God's point of view, it's himself incarnate, perhaps. I mean, I don't... yes. Do I think that? In my way, I do, yes. I think we're all God incarnate. We're all his children. I think that's what being children is. But the incarnation has an individuality about it, which is wonderful, and that's what he delights in. And we strive to understand that pleasure, that value in the uniqueness of each of us, so that the uniqueness of each of us becomes an eternal blessing. Yes, thank you, Heavenly Father. That's something in itself, isn't it? Wow. Perhaps it's more than something, Father. Perhaps it's, in a way, the everything. Thank you, Heavenly Father. I see the time is some 19 minutes past 8 in the morning. And it's a Sabbath morning. Not surprising, is it, that I've been talking about Sabbath at some point in even this recording here. I'm not a legalist, as you probably gathered. Or at least I hope I'm not a legalist. But a lot to be said, isn't there, about keeping one day a week. As a seclusion. I think my friend Kavita said that to me yesterday, that it's a sort of regular weekly seclusion. Ananda in general, and she as well, have a wonderful ability for trying to bridge across the truths of one religion to the other, especially Eastern Hinduism to Western Christianity type views. And I realise, of course, that the amalgam of the two is abhorrent to both both extremes. But there's something lovely about finding a harmony, finding a way of blessing both camps, being a blessing to both camps, embracing children of God wherever they are, in whatever cultural or religious setting or lack of it that they have. That's a loveliness that we treasure more than some adherence to some particular creed. I think I mean that. Anyway, coming back to keeping Sabbath. It's good to have a special day a week when, I think Gandhi, of course, he had a day when he just didn't talk. I think it was Mondays or something, wasn't it? I don't know. And yeah, and I mean, if you're a pastor, for instance, you need to take Monday off because Sunday was anything but a rest day. You were being worked to death, really. No, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. We need times of rest, and rest is, well, pictorially I'd say curling up in the arms of God on the sofa, watching the fire, a natural fire, wood fire, reflecting on lovely company of God and family that you love and love you. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Well, I'm thinking to add that integrity is therefore it's a sort of quality of itself. It links to, well, it has an emotive side, which is that it's valued. It's consistent with what is truly of value, or found to be finally truly of value. I mean, you could be consistently harmful for, quite a while, but it would in itself destroy itself. I mean, if you're harmful, you tend to draw harm on you, and even perhaps the very purpose of being harmful is harmful to the perpetrator. In that, for instance, he only sees destruction and becomes destruction, destroying himself. So that in some sense, the ultimate of integrity is linked to, on the contrary, a great desirability. Some form of integrity is necessary to build anything, and ultimate integrity is eternal. And we're not certain there could be anything that's eternally bad, but we are pretty clear what we desire is whatever constitutes being eternally good. And in fact, in the very notion of creating, it's because we're moving to something that we want, from a state that we perceive to a state that we imagine to be better, that we hope for and start creating towards. And we use the integrities that are available to achieve that end. And we're going to need a consistency of effort and relationship, if you like, of the parts of the building to achieve that goal. A consistency of purpose, and so forth. It's the great question of existence, isn't it? We can build with what's already has a consistency. But the ultimate of no consistency is nothing at all, not even inconsistency. For that, in a sense, if it were inconsistent throughout, would be a consistency. And we're puzzled by how creation could have come into existence from nothing, because we're not used to handling nothing. We know nothing of its qualities or lack of qualities. It may be that nothing by definition has a perfect consistency. If something that doesn't exist can have a consistency, it's a bit like the problem of dividing 0 by 0. I mean, do you get 1 or do you get infinity? Or do you still get 0, or is the conception of what you get just meaningless? Imponderable it may be, and it's linked heavily, isn't it, to such things as well. Yes, God gives you an explanation for creation, but what gives you an explanation for God? How can something be self-creating from nothing, or even the absence of nothing? Neither thing nor no thing. How can God appear out of confusion? And does even the confusion need to have been made or created in some way? And so you say, well, did he do that? Well, the Buddhist solution is very good, although Buddha doesn't, or Buddhism anyway, doesn't seem to come up with a recognized, self-recognized understanding of God. It does come up with the correct teaching, which is to say, look, life is short. I'm just showing you the way to avoid suffering. Take it or leave it. Taste and see if it works. The Buddha's convinced it works, and that when you taste it, you'll find it does work, and you'll be blessed by it. His goal is quite pedestrian. The world seems to be, especially in his eyes, typified by nothing but suffering, especially with his definition of suffering, or the Buddhist definition anyway. And he's found a solution, is what he's declaring. You can avoid suffering. Do this. To convince you and find the explanation of why it works, and to get you to accept that explanation, well, that might take an awful lot of life. And in the Buddhist view, many, many, many lives. And, why not be economic and take the shortcut? Just take my advice. It's quite a persuasive argument, isn't it? Oh, in passing, I'll just remind you, I don't think that the Buddha had no God. I think his conception of God is pretty sophisticated and, well, rather different to the normal conception of God, I think. Thank you, Heavenly